Good morning from SFG Top Performance. This is Mark Young, and with us today we have our regulars Jason, Derek, and Charles. We're going to be discussing variable rate technology, phosphorus stabilizers, field forecasting tool, and variable rate planting. Derek, would you please start us off on fertilizer scripts that you write?
Yes. So everyone knows we've done a lot of variable rate fertilizer recommendations based on the normal soil samples. People have been soil sampling for a number of years, and then we apply fertilizer based on those recommendations we get back. We put more fertilizer in the areas that P and K are lower, and put less where they're higher. It really reduces fertilizer costs and really helps put the fertilizer out where we need it in the field. One kind of new thing that we're doing is, if you don't have soil sample results or you don't soil sample your fields, we also have other ways to variable rate fertilizer. We can variable rate them based on yield maps, based on soil types even, or yield potential based on NDVI images is what we call those. I'm just going to go through quick kind of what all that means and how it helps. So if you don't have soil samples, but you have yield maps, we can import a yield map right into our system. And then the areas of the field that are normally taking off more yield, it makes sense that we want to put more fertilizer there, and it can push those areas to get more yield, and it can replace that yield that we're taking out of those areas. Whereas, your side hills that you're getting less bushels out of, we can reduce that amount of fertilizer there. We can do that all with a yield map. Now, if guys don't have yield maps, and that takes that one out of the equation, so we can use just strictly soil types, and we have all that information, just the public information about soil types. We know which ones are more productive than others, so we can put more fertilizer on those soil types. Another one that is becoming more popular is actually basing it off yield potential in the field. And what that means is we get satellite images every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks, and it takes pictures of your field and measures the crop biomass. And satellites have been doing this for a number of years, and we can get these images out of, and what that shows is the areas in the field that has more crop biomass produced. And the rule of thumb, where there's more biomass, there's more yield. So we can actually take that map, bring it into our system, and put more fertilizer on the areas that have more crop biomass. I really like these types of maps for in-season nitrogen as well. If we don't have a yield map, because it changes from year to year. So we can take a picture in June and see which areas of the fields are producing more crop biomass. We can put 40 extra pounds of nitrogen just on that area of the field, or we can put 60 pounds there and then put 40 pounds on the side hill that's looking a little tough. So those are kind of the new ways that we can write recs. And what I really like about it is we have capability to make any farmer eligible for variable rate fertilizer instead of spending the money to get soil samples. We can tailor these recommendations to any field, and everyone can take advantage of variable rate technology. And we always seem to get more yield where we're putting more fertilizer, and we can reduce costs in areas that we don't need to put that fertilizer.
Eric, I have a question for you. You'd start out talking about NDVI maps. Now, are those the satellite maps that you're getting? Can you explain a little bit more what NDVI actually stands for?
Yes. So what NDVI is, it is measuring the red, green, blue. It's measuring the color of the field. That's what it's looking at. And all it does is it's showing the satellite images are about down to half an acre, I believe, off the top of my head. And what they're showing is that field is more green in a certain area than a different part of the field. So we're using as a rule of thumb that the more green means there's going to be more yield because you have more plant biomass, but essentially NDVI is just measuring greenness in each field.
And one thing with the BRT, back to the soil samples, it helps us get our pH in check, which helps, get our nutrients more available and make sure that our nutrients are free from, being tied up in the soil. So that is where we always, in the past, have always gotten it, that lime will pay for it typically pays for the soil samples in itself. So we can use all the rest of these components for the fertilizer portion, but we still need to make sure our pH is in check and go back to the soil sample variable rate technology to make sure our pH is right, and we're not tying up the high price P&K that we're putting out there. Make sure it's available for our plants, and we're going to get the best optimum yields that we can get. And I know, Derek, you're excellent at writing these recommendations. And Charles, can you tell us a little about the equipment that we have that we're using to apply it in the right place? Because that's the other half of the battle.
Today we have for the P&K variable rate, we have 2 floaters that can do that today, and Derek can write up a script right there in the office. It sends it right to the machine, and it works. That's in the past we've always had to do thumb drives and run down scripts and go out and verify to make it work. But now we got the technology where we can send the file right out to the machine and double check, make sure it works, and we can spread it anywhere we want with it. We're also getting the top dress machine is going to have a twin bin to it, which it'll be able to variable rate P&K, or not P&K, nitrogen, as he's doing these imagery showing that, hey, we're going to go out and it's going to be nitrogen based. It's not going to be the P&K based. It has the technology of doing that machine, but it's going to be more of the AMS feature and the urea feature, be able to twin bin those 2 products. So that's going to be a new adventure for us, I guess, but we'll be ready for it.
As far as some of this new information that we've been spending more time with email campaigns, and what those are, we're sending out email blasts to our customers about the VRT application, about side dress nitrogen and everything. And what we're going to do is we're going to give out exclusive deals and up-to-date information on those email campaigns. So if you haven't been getting those, just make sure you reach out to someone here at SFG to get you on that email list, and then make sure you're interacting with it. Click on it and see what spend a little more time to see what's going on in the new with these new offerings that SFG can do for you. One new thing that we've done a lot is Avail stabilizer. And Jason, do you want to talk about phosphorus stabilizer just a little bit?
Yes, what Avail is, we impregnate it on the phosphorus as we're mixing it, and it charges the fertilizer. It gives it a negative charge, so when it's put on the soil, it doesn't attach to the soil particles. So it's available, plant available, and it makes the phosphorus easier to absorb. And what this does, it optimizes our phosphorus especially, and it makes, produces higher yields, and it makes everything available that we're putting out there. So we're not getting a third of it tied up in the soil by, along with the pH, there's other new elements out there that will tie up our phosphorus. So it keeps it from being tied up and makes it all plant available. So it's an excellent, it's a pretty cheap tool that we have to help us make the best bang for our buck when we're fertilizing. So, and there's some other products that have similar things, like we have MicroSync that's got the similar product on it that helps micronutrients also stabilize them, and it's a stabilized micronutrient product. So there's several stabilizers that we have out there for phosphorus and micronutrients, and also nitrogen. We talked about them last time, that there's several nitrogen stabilizers that are excellent to use as well. So
when we're talking about nitrogen going into the spring, we're about probably 45 days before we start putting on anhydrous again. And it's really a good time of the year to just start planning your spring nitrogen, start planning your in-season nitrogen already. And what we really want to do is take a look at every single field. We can use that with our field forecasting tool that we've talked about, that nitrogen model. And we just want to get away from blanketing every field the same, putting on 180 pounds of nitrogen and hoping for the best, essentially. Hybrids make a difference. Our management scenarios make a difference. So we're able to show you those differences and do some return on investment with this field forecasting tool. And then we can look at every field and maximize the nitrogen and make sure you're getting every amount of, or every bushel out of every acre that you can. Another way we do this is with variable rate planting. We can make the same kind of recommendations, same kind of maps that we can with variable rate fertilizer as with your planting. Big difference is you have to have a planter that it has the capability of you doing that technology, but we're able to walk you through that and make those maps as well. Jason, did you want to talk about kind of the?
Yeah, so with actually corn and soybeans are different. You know, with the soybeans, we want to put more beans in your poorer areas that aren't going to produce as well. So you're going to want to put that 140, 160,000 in them areas so they're produce their optimum amount. In the better areas, you know, you can back it up to 100, 110,000 and still produce optimum yields. So your soybeans are a little different than corn. When you get to the corn, you want to, you know, raise it to produce the most in your poor or your best ground. That way you're not getting the most ears out of your best ground, and put a little less and hope for a little flex in your poorer areas. So it's a little different than in each, you know, your corn and soybeans. You go about it completely different. And I know, Derek, you write a lot of these programs and they're backwards. In your, you know, the corn and the soybeans are completely different in how you want to approach, you know, planting them. And that's one thing that maybe in the past we didn't realize, and now we're starting to understand with the more trials we've done and the more research that we've seen that this is the way we want to approach it. And we are optimizing yields and saving seed at the same time. So,
Have we been doing the research in our own plots, our inside plot? Have we done some of this variable rate technology, the different rates, or are we doing that within field tests on some SFG ground?
Yes, we definitely are. In this last year, in 2020 crop year, I had 3 fields that we did in-field variable rate on soybeans. I took ranges all the way from 160 down to, you know, a couple blocks of 110,000. And it told the story that we were looking for. We were in the high yielding areas. We were able to get the same yield with the lower amount of soybeans in there. 120,000 seemed to be about the sweet spot in the higher yield zones. I'd get nervous dipping anything under that because we run into weed control issues, and then you want to have some extra soybeans out there just in case there's an issue in the spring. So, but about every 10,000 soybean plants is about $3 an acre. So even if you're reducing 10 or 20,000, I mean that's real money there that you can save in the high yield areas. And then if you put some more seeds out in the lower yield areas, you're going to raise that yield. And we're continuing to look at that. We variable rated the corn for a number of years, so I don't have the true initial data from corn, but in 2020 soybeans, we definitely have that, and we can show that to anyone that'd like to see it.
Yeah, great. Jason, when you talked about the Avail stabilizer, since you're stabilizing your nitrogen, encapsulating your phosphorus, you're encapsulating your phosphorus so that it stays within the field longer, it becomes a more available plant. Can I reduce my actual phosphorus I can apply, or should I still maintain the same level of phosphorus I'm putting on?
you should keep the same level of phosphorus on there. That way you're building your soil profile and you're not letting your total soil profile drop. But with this stabilizer, you're making more available for the plants. So they're going to be, that's not going to be your limiting factor in your yield. So your phosphorus will be there and abundant, and you'll be able to feed the plants as much as they need. So yes, I believe we need to keep our phosphorus levels up there, so we're not depleting our soil phosphorus, and we're maintaining our soil levels, and we're not cheating ourselves and costing us in the long run.
Okay, great. Well, we've all heard the old adage that all politics is local. Well, that holds true for agriculture as well. Local conditions are what affect you and your operation, Mr. Farmer. Local expertise is what you rely on to help you make critical management decisions. Turning over the local facet of your operation to a faithless entity can cause you to lose focus. And that's something no farmer can afford to do. For over 20 years now, SFG has focused on testing every agronomic concept that might make a difference for a farmer. The SFG Inside Plot and Winfield United Answer Plots have looked at the good and the bad, the new and the assumed, the maybe this could work, and the crazy possible. Technology evolves every day, and SFG continues to evolve right along with it by advancing agriculture intelligently. Variable commodity prices make SFG even more determined to continue providing you with expertise, quality, and value. Be sure to talk with your local SFG agronomy advisor about how SFG can help your operation succeed through innovation. Thank you for attending today. Thank you for the business that you have offered SFG, and we look forward to that continued business. Again, thank you.